I will never apologize for standing up for an LGBTQ2+ kids' rights.
He believes that I should be censored. He believes I should be canceled from this leadership race and disqualified, in his words, because I don't share his liberal viewpoint. That is the kind of cancel culture and censorship you would expect from Justin Trudeau, but instead we're getting it from this liberal on this stage. Frankly, Mr. Charest, for you to talk about law and order is a little bit rich, given that your party, your Liberal Party, took $500,000 of illegal donations when you were the head of that party. The average trucker has more integrity in his pinky finger than you had in your entire scandal-plagued Liberal cabinet.
Let's go back to Ottawa. The Prime Minister today apologizing for his role in a scandal that's really engulfed his government for more than a week now. Justin Trudeau admitting he should not have been involved in a high-level decision that chose the We Charity to run a massive $900 million government program to help Canadian students. As you can imagine, there's outrage from the Conservatives, the NDP, the Bloc Québécois over the Prime Minister's direct family connections to that charity. The deal blew up after revelations that multiple members of the Trudeau family, including Justin Trudeau's mother and brother, had both received payments from the organization. Here's more from the Prime Minister today.
I know there are many questions and problems with the way this program is run about, and I know people have concerns about it. I get that. I made a mistake in not recusing myself immediately from the discussions, given our family's history. And I'm sincerely sorry about not having done that.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Yes, point of order, recognizing yes. Point of order, Mr. Poilievre.
On two separate occasions, the Liberal Vice Chair has tried to interrupt my testimony by falsely claiming that I was out of time, even though I kept time, and I can show definitively that my time has not expired. So I've asked that I be granted the opportunity to get an answer to a very simple and straightforward question that the Kielburger brothers seem to have a lot of difficulty answering, which is the total value of all the cash and in-kind benefits that have been paid in the fees or expenses for the Trudeau family, including Mr. Trudeau, his wife, his mother, and his brother. Simple question. I've been trying to get an answer for 2 minutes, but regularly interrupted by the Vice Chair.
Okay, we'll allow for an answer, and then your time is up, Mr. Poilievre, and then we'll move on to the next questioner. We'll give some time for the answer.
So again, we've never, of course, paid any expenses or honorariums to Mr. Trudeau, but to Margaret Trudeau, Alexander Trudeau, and Sophie Trudeau over the past, 10+ years of various speaking events.
Just the total, please. Get to it.
It's trying to do the quickest math that I can here. Adding it together is roughly $216,000 in honorariums, and roughly $209,000 in expenses. And then you could, which of course was not paid to them. That goes, we just pay it directly to a hotel or a flight. And if you add that together, it's a little over $400,000 that would have been all the expenses over the past decade for 42 different events that they attended and spoke on the stage.
When it was revealed that the Prime Minister had brought a convicted terrorist along on his trip, he claimed that it was a backbench MP who had arranged it. Now he claims that it was the Indian government that did it through a conspiracy. Is he alleging that his own backbench MP is part of a conspiracy orchestrated by the Indian government?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I've already answered that question. However, I understand that the opposition wants to keep this line of questioning because they prefer talking about anything other than Budget 2018, which includes so many positive initiatives for the middle class and those working hard to join it. One of these is the Canada Workers Benefit, which we are not only strengthening, but we are also making accessible to an additional 300,000 low-income workers. The opposition will stay focused on us, but we will continue to focus on Canadians.
Order. 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 As I said earlier, members don't have confidence in the public to make decisions and assessments about things that are said in this place and the questions and the answers and the quality thereof. Members ought to understand that the Speaker is not empowered to comment on any of those things. Members should listen. The honourable member for Carleton.
The Prime Minister wants to talk about the budget. So in what year will it be balanced?
Justin Trudeau has caused a political emergency. While the rest of the world and provinces across Canada are beginning to remove restrictions and mandates, Justin Trudeau decided to pile new ones on, targeting truckers' livelihoods. And now he's got protests right around the country. And now he's dropping in the polls, desperately trying to save his political career and save face for himself. The solution is staring him in the face. All he has to do is listen to the experts, do what other countries are doing, and that is to eliminate these mandates and restrictions to let the protesters, including the truckers, go back to their jobs and their lives.
And ending with the recent claim that the police had asked for the Emergencies Act. Now that the government has admitted that the public safety minister stated falsehoods, will the Prime Minister do the honourable thing and fire him?
The last 6 months have laid bare fundamental gaps and inequities within our societies and between them. As with climate change, those who have the least are impacted the most. That's why last spring, Canada worked with Prime Minister Andrew Holness and Secretary General Antonio Guterres to convene a high-level meeting to discuss how leaders around the world could work together to close these gaps and build a better, more equitable system that works for everyone. In May, we agreed to look at 6 urgent areas of action to mobilize financing for the response and the recovery. Over the course of the summer, our 6 working groups produced over 250 policy options. On September 8th, finance ministers gathered to discuss these options and their recommendations for the short, medium, and long term. Because we understand that right now we have to fix urgent problems, but in the long run, we also have to fix the system so that it works for everyone. To eliminate this virus anywhere, we need to eliminate it everywhere. While scientists work around the clock to develop a vaccine, as governments, we have the responsibility to ensure it'll be distributed quickly and fairly around the world. On Friday, I announced that Canada will provide $440 million to the COVID-19 Vaccine Global Access Facility, including $220 million to the Advanced Market Commitment to help low and middle-income countries access vaccines. This is an important initiative, and I encourage other governments to join in as well. We need to work together, and not just on vaccines.
These questions are extremely hypothetical. We have no intention of raising interest rates in the current circumstance.
Of course not. That's why I'm not asking about the current circumstance. I'm asking about the medium-term circumstance, sir. You've admitted that if inflation rises unexpectedly, that you would raise interest rates. Those were your words. And the question is, what if there is an unexpected rise in inflation? What would you do to combat it?
If there is an unexpected rise in inflation, and I don't anticipate that that's going to happen, but if that were to happen, we have all the tools. As
what would you do?
Well, we can raise interest rates.
There you go. Said that. And we need to, as Canadian parliamentarians, to know what that would do to households. How many would become insolvent if you had a 2% increase in interest rates?
The biggest risk to Canadians coming insolvent is not having a job.
Right.
The biggest risk to Canadians not being able to repay their mortgage is not having a job.
It is the job of elected officials to hold powerful people to account. When powerful people do damage to everyday citizens with their policies, it is our job as elected officials to call them out for it and to fix the problem. The reason we have inflation today is not because I'm criticizing the bankers and politicians who caused it. It's because they've created the cash that is driving up the cost of living. So you know who's damaging the credibility of the Bank of Canada? Justin Trudeau, by using the central bank to finance his out-of-control inflationary deficits. That's why we have 30-year highs in inflation today. That's why single mothers can't feed their kids. That's why 32-year-olds are living in their parents' basements. And if you think I'm going to be silent about that to protect the ego of bankers and politicians, then you're in for a surprise.
The independence of the Bank of Canada from the government of the day is a really important principle that ensures the stability and the good reputation of Canada in international economic circuits, in international economic circles. It is something that is a source of pride and a source of stability, not just for Canadians, but for Canadian businesses, for Canadian investors and investments, for investors coming into Canada to know that we have a robust and rigorous central bank that is independent from political machinations or interference. The fact that one of the leading candidates for the Conservative Party of Canada, the leader of the opposition, seems to profoundly either misunderstand that or not care about the facts at all is somewhat disappointing in an era where we need more responsible leadership, not less. But that is a decision, obviously, for members of the Conservative Party to weigh in on, not for me.
We're one of the few countries that actually brought in a price on pollution right across the country, and that had 2 elections where that price on pollution was upheld. That's a clear indication that Canadians understand that it's not just important for the air, for the water, for future generations. It's important for our bottom line. It's important for food on our table. It's important for our economic growth, to be innovative and leading the world on this. And that's what we've been doing, and that's what we're so excited about working with partners around the country on. And it just boggles my mind that the Conservatives are having a debate over their leadership right now, and they're still arguing about whether or not we need to move forward on the fight against climate change. There's very few people in this country who still think that you can have a plan for the economy without having a plan for the environment. And most of those people seem to be running for the Conservative leadership.
The government called them names, froze his bank account, and brought in an Emergency Act attack on his freedom. Ladies and gentlemen, people feel like they've lost control of their lives. You know, Mark Twain said, the 2 most important days in your life, the day you were born and the day you find out why you were born. Why is the most important question you'll ever ask whenever you do anything. So why am I running for Prime Minister? I'm running for Prime Minister to put you back in charge of your life so that by making Canada the freest nation on earth.
Speaker, I was happy to talk with people in Lac-Saint-Jean about Bombardier, about the work we're doing to protect aerospace workers, about the work we're doing to protect forestry workers, about what we're delivering for agriculture, agricultural communities and families, and about what we're delivering directly to Canadians in 9 out of 10 families that need help with the Canada Child Benefit. These are the kinds of things that people were talking to me about, and the Conservative Party is once again showing itself to be completely out of touch with the priorities of Canadians. I can't say I mind, but it is amusing to see they haven't learned any lessons in 2 years.
Honourable Member for Carleton.
Mr. Speaker, we're not looking for some intimate detail of the Finance Minister's personal life. We don't care what he had for breakfast or what kind of socks he wears, Mr. Speaker, but we do care about the fact that he controls $330 billion of other people's money. He hid his offshore company in France. He hid his $20 million share in his family business. What else is he hiding in his vast network of numbered companies and trust funds?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians know there's a lot of back and forth that goes on in this House, and one of the things that matters to them is that we have a commissioner that is in charge of ensuring that the behaviour of all the people in this House meets the high standards of Canadians.
Well, the general process is that the vice chair assumes the chairing of the meeting. So we'll continue.
And that would be me. So we'll continue the meeting. And I now give the floor to the member for Carleton. Mr. Prime Minister, you have, I'm going to ask you one last time, how much did your family get from this organization? How much?
Have you read the Conflict of Interest Act, Mr.
Yes,
Poilievre?
I have.
How does it define family?
I'm asking you.
How does it define
I'm asking
family?
you how much your family got.
The Conflict of Interest Act defines family as spouse and direct dependents.
Point of order. So you're not going to answer that question.
Point of order.
So you're not going to answer the question then. So you're not going to answer the question about how much your family received. Okay, you're right.
Older gentleman, if you.
For working with we, and it was cleared by the Ethics Commissioner ahead of time.
Okay.
Mr. Poilievre, can I welcome back Wayne Easter? Can I welcome back Wayne Easter, a man we've deeply missed? Come on, Wayne, where have you been?
Look,
I had things under control for you while you were gone.
I mentioned that, Pierre, it wouldn't be the first time you tried to put my lights out, and that's exactly what happened, Pierre. We get a thunderstorm.
So this was a very difficult decision. But we have seen Russia consistently trying to weaponize energy as a way of creating division amongst the allies, of undermining the general population's support for this essential effort in Ukraine that governments continue to support. And I remind people that the sanctions that Canada's leading on, that we continue to push harder and harder, are aimed at Putin and his enablers and aren't designed to harm our allies and their populations. This decision to be there to support Germany and Europe in the real challenges they face around energy, particularly over the coming year, as they work as fast as they can to get off their reliance of Russian oil and gas, is an essential piece in ensuring that not just governments across Europe and around the world, but populations in our countries continue to support their governments stepping up with billions of dollars of support in military and financial and humanitarian support for the Ukrainian people while they lead this essential fight against tyranny and oppression.
We already know that the Conservatives are going to support the profits of big oil and gas. Where will the Prime Minister stand? With people and families, or with the large corporations who've made excess profits?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, from the very beginning of our time in office in 2015, we've moved forward on lowering taxes for the middle class and raising them.
All right, this is the last time that I'm standing on this one. Because, you know, quite honestly, I'm getting tired of standing on this one. Listen, let's just try to keep a little decorum in the House. I know there's a lot of energy to be let out. I know we're still happy to be here after a few-week break, but it's good to be here, to talk to folks, to understand what's going on. And I believe the Honourable Prime Minister was trying to answer the question, or where were we? Because I kind of lost track. There you go. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, when we got elected in 2015, it was on a commitment to lower taxes for the middle class and raise them on the wealthiest 1%. We did that, and then we moved forward with more supports for seniors, more supports for families. We've continued to look at ways of enabling economic growth and support for small businesses, while at the same time making sure that the tax system is fair. Mr. Speaker, these bells ringing are not ideal for me.
Listen, I'm going to stand here as long as it takes.
You look great.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it over there. We don't need to be ringing bells. We don't need to be yelling and screaming. Let's Let's just make sure we get through question period before 5 o'clock tonight.
You know what else we're going to do? We're going to bring back hope. You know, every time the Prime Minister comes on television, it's either to insult the people or talk about how horrible it is and why he needs more power and control to run our lives, because life just could not go on without giving him more power. The people want that sense of hope that brought 300,000 immigrants every single year to this country, that inspires our young people to believe that anything is possible if you work hard. That's what my parents taught me. I was adopted from a 16-year-old unwed mother, but my parents always told me it didn't matter where I came from, it mattered where I was going. It didn't matter who I knew, but what I could do. That's the Canada we're going to bring back again. We're going to restore hope. You know, people want to take back control of their lives because that sense of personal ownership, of personal responsibility gives every person a purpose and a meaning and a sense of self-worth. There is nothing special about politicians. I'm not here to take power. I'm here to give it back. I'm not here to run your life. I'm here to let you run your own life. You have the God-given abilities to do that. That's your purpose. In the words of the great Canadian Prime Minister, John Diefenbaker, when he signed our Bill of Rights, he wrote, "I am a Canadian, a free Canadian, free to speak without fear, free to stand for what I think right, free to oppose what I believe wrong, free to worship God in my own way, free, free, free to choose those who shall govern my country, free, free." It is this heritage of freedom I pledge to uphold for myself and for all of mankind. Thank you very much. God bless Canada.